Yes, I, Black again, Jah Rastafari. This is Lord Sage, Sage of the Seventh Path. I am here. This is chapter 9, the creation of mankind. We're going forward and we're going to play some aspects of this, of Marcus Garvey's speech. And also, we're giving thanks to the great Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the greatest prophet ever to be born out of the womb of a woman. So give thanks to the black woman, bringing forth such gods. So give thanks, Jah Rastafari. So we're gonna go through the speech, and we're gonna see what comes up on the relations between this topic, which is creation of mankind. You understand? And from this video, we're gonna continue, and we're gonna see what's up. So give thanks. Give thanks alive continually. Jah Rastafari. So yes, black again. So as we could see, it's the honorable Marcus Garvey, and we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna go through the aspects. Before I play this video, I just want to give my understanding and views upon the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And, so saying that now, to say now, Marcus Garvey to me, and what he means to me, is I see him as an ancient ancestor, ancient God that revisited us in this cycle of life that we are going through. And yeah, I see him as an ancient God who come back through reincarnation to actually wake up back black people, because when we understand the creation of mankind now, you could begin to understand why we are in slavery and why another race is trying to actually kill out the black race. Why the white Caucasian specifically, with all other races helping them, right? All okay, mankind. And mankind stands for the Europeans, the Chinese, and the Indians. They are the three major races under the banner of mankind, right? They represent mankind. So black people represent a totally different thing, right? So we have learned that already. If you keep up with my videos, you understand that part already, right? So saying all that to say now, Marcus Garvey now, being that ancient God that come through the process of reincarnation to wake up his people. You understand? So being that we, like I was saying, we came through slavery and we have no idea how slavery started or what sparked this whole race war. You understand? So we learned that Africans came first. We developed and we civilized these nations, these people. We created them. Basically, that's what it means when you civilize a race. That means you created them. That's when you look deep into the meaning of what civilization is. That's what it boils down to. Understand? So Marcus Garvey now, I was saying that Marcus Garvey now, he is the ancestor, one of the ancient gods. I'm talking about these gods here. You understand? Creator, God's offspring. You understand? So we see there is not only there's many gods that in control of many aspects of reality that we live, and all these gods make up one, right? From one god to the other, from one god to the other, and from one god to the other. That's where the term comes from. We all are gods, right? The original people on planet Earth, they all are gods. It's like Christ tells us we all are gods. That's why Christ, even when Christ comes to save us, we still have to save ourselves. It's up to us to actually accept the message of the Christ Messiah. Same thing goes for Marcus Garvey. It's up to us to acknowledge what Marcus Garvey is saying. You understand? So, Marcus Garvey now, he's one of them ancient African gods that control a specific part of creation. When we understand that God is not just one singular person. Understand? God is more than one. It's a company of gods. When you study Egypt, Kemet, the walls, it's always a company of gods, whether it's male or female. You understand all that, right? So yes, so since we were in slavery now, we were captured and brought to the Western world, by a different type of race of people to ourselves, right? They're different from us. And it took us captive and brought us across the waters and brought us to small islands and the United States, the Americas, right? You see that being we are gods and we understand the level of life and the cycle of life, the cycle within the cycle, just different levels to go to different cycles. When you're done at one cycle, you enter a different cycle. But all the time when you're in this cycle, you gotta unless you don't complete, you're gonna remain in that cycle. So you gotta complete the cycle to go to a next cycle. So unless you don't complete it and do what you have to do, you'll go back and repeat until you get it right, right? So different levels to this. So Marcus Garvey now, right? Marcus Garvey now is one of them ancient gods that came back through the cycle of reincarnation to free his people and to wake them up, because he realized that we have been stripped of our heritage, our cultures, our science, everything that goes with it. You understand? And we also been stripped out of our minds also. You understand? Because the first slave that was brought over to the Western world, they had to be shackled, right? They had to be shackled and chained and whipped and beat and killed just to do what Massa want them to do. You understand? We had to go through all these horrific acts because we wouldn't comply to what Massa wanted us to do, because it was a feeding, it was a breeding program. Slavery was a breeding program. It was like a breeding ground for cattle, and we were the cattle. You understand? So this video now we're gonna learn why we was in slavery and what actually sparked slavery, right? We're gonna learn what caused slavery, because this has to do with the creation of mankind. Everything I'm saying has to do with the creation of mankind, right? So being the gods we are, alright, like I was saying a while ago, being the gods that we are, and we understand the cycle of life, even reincarnation, right? When we understand that we would always have a savior that will come back through these cycles, reincarnation cycle, that could come back and wake us up, because it's ourselves. God is not one, God is all of us. That's why it's just us. It's just us, not Jesus, but just us. All of us is God. And somebody have different levels of the Godship. from one God to the other. You understand? So Marcus Garvey now represent that God that is a specific that is in control of a specific part of creation. So since gods were taken out from Africa and killed and whipped and raped and do all such type of things, right? And black man lost their way because the first slave that was brought to the Western world, you know, the white race now to develop their new world, because they have still stole all our arts and science and everything. They have stole all the manuscripts, you know, that they could they have all the manuscripts that they stole. It was enough for them to go and build their own world, because the type of science that we were into is the highest of development, because we created mankind. Africans created mankind. This is our creation. This is our children. In a sense, so we're gonna learn why our children kill and rape and pillage and trying to take us out and trying to take our seat in the earth, where we supposed to govern the earth, you know. So they want to take that seat, you understand, and put us at the bottom, you understand. So that's what's going on. That's what we see taking place in slavery, that they are calling us animals and they're telling us we are monkeys and we come from apes and all this type of things, you understand. So that's, they put black man at a low state, where black man is the creation of all this. Black man is the creator of all this, I mean. You understand? We're the ones who created all this. So we're going to learn the reason why we're going through slavery. Alright? So let's move on. So like I was saying now, I don't want to be too long-winded, although I'm being long-winded, you know. But I just want to make sure everyone understands what I'm saying. So that's, so if you find I'm repeating myself, it's just for you to understand what I'm saying, you know. So Marcus Garvey now, he's one of them ancient gods, like I was saying, that come back and to resurrect his people, to wake them up, for they are fallen into deep sleep, because the first slave that was brought over, they are dead and gone. And when you know how to run a farm, right, and in that aspect now, it's human farm, and your aim is to build a new world, and you have stolen all the necessary knowledge to build that new world. So now you're using the people now to actually build that new world for yourself, for you. So you're using us as resources to build your new world in whichever way you find fit. So that's why the killers, the rapers, do us whatever horrific act they could think of to actually get us to do what they want us to do. And they took the pleasures of having sex farms and breeding us, because when you have a farm, you need to breed to keep your farm going. So they would breed us on all levels to actually create new slaves now, with the mentality of a slave that wouldn't fight back, because the first slave they captured would always fight back or even kill them if any chance they get. You understand? That's why the slave was always running away, and you know, or killing the slave masters, because we fought every aspect of the slavery thing that they were going through, that we were going through. You know, we fought every step of the way. That's the point I wanted to get to. You understand? Yeah. So, since breeding new slaves now, and these slaves that have been bred now, they won't know nothing about the former slaves, so they've been bred into slavery. So that's why nobody know nothing about history. So that's why they gave us their own history. They gave us their own science about creation. They gave us their own everything, because this is the world that we created for them, and this is the world they placed and designed for us to be controlled. You know. So when we control now, we could keep their world in existence. They could be able to be in existence by we keeping their world. and developing the world for them. But the way they getting that done is by programming us. So they start. So the stages started from stage one, which is slavery, where on the breeding farms where the new slaves were being bred. You understand? So you're finding people, the first slave was killed out. So this first slave that was killed out now, they have to pass through the cycle of reincarnation and come back now and try to redeem the people and tell the people what took place. So Marcus Garvey now is one of them gods now that have come through the cycle of life to come and tell us what took place in Africa. So that's why Marcus Garvey woke up. He woke everybody up. You know, everybody that was sleeping in that time, they was awake because of the great voice of the terrible Marcus Garvey. You know? So we see the importance now of being awake and not asleep. You understand? So Marcus Garvey is that God. So that's the aspect. So I wanna go deeper, but it will take too long because we have, you know. So I'm just gonna stop at that note and we're gonna go into the Marcus Garvey speech. You understand? We're gonna go through the Marcus Garvey speech. But the point I just wanted to make though is that the process of slavery will wipe out of all our memory. The shackles went on our brain because of the breeding farms. Because new slaves were being bred and they had no idea what was going on. So all the old slaves have passed and gone. You understand? So the only way you could get these slaves to come back again is through reincarnation, the cycle of reincarnation. You understand? Because our work is not done, so we gotta go through the cycle of reincarnation and come back now. So this is why Marcus Garvey came back as a mighty prophet, the greatest prophet ever to be born, because he in control of a certain aspect of creation. He's a certain God figure of creation. You understand? So I'm not going to point out which God he is specifically because, you understand? I'm not going to point out which God he is specifically, but he is part of the Trinity, the first three gods to be in existence. You understand? Because from one to the other and to the other and to the other. You understand? That's why they say God is one. But God is not one person, but he's a company of gods. We all are gods. But it come back to the one factor because we all represent the same one God, one aim, one destiny. So one from the other to the other to the other to the other. The great company of gods, right? So yeah, so we're gonna go into the speech. So we're gonna start at that level right here.
You can imprison the bodies of men, but you cannot shackle or imprison the minds of men. Die down, black men, and dig. Reach up.
Okay, so we just really say you could shackle the feet of man, you could shackle the hand of man, but you cannot shackle the brain of man, right? You cannot imprison the brain of man, right? Now the way they could because the reason why he's saying that, because he came to wake us up, because we was asleep, because they really had shackles on our brain. They really wiped us out, and the way they wiped us out, wipe out all our memory, is by putting us through the sex farms to breed new slaves now. So the new slaves you're breeding them, you could program them from the womb. You can infuse whatever you want to. You could whatever culture you want to put on that baby. You do it from small, so you could only bend a tree when it's small. You cannot bend a tree when it's all grown up. You understand? So they had to breed new slaves apart from the slaves that was captured, because they knew that these slaves they have to whip and beat and chain, and that it wouldn't last, right? It wouldn't last because these slaves any chance they get, they will kill out the slave master. So what they did, they had to force these slaves now to be in sex gangs and build up breeding farms where you just breed war captives, because they're not really slaves, they are war captives, and they're trying to make them into slaves actually. So they develop this breeding program, you know, where they capture all these war captives and force them to breed with their sister, or they, they'll just breed in you because you are looked on like cattle. So sometimes the person they breed in you, it might be your sister. You understand? And just like we see in a farm, chicks is all 1,000 of little fowls in one cage, and you don't know which one come from which one. Every so this is not, that's not important. So we will look on like cattle. You understand? So that's why when Marcus Garvey come back now and wake us up now, we cannot go back to sleep. We cannot stay awake. And that's why he's saying you could shackle the foot of man and the hand of man, but you can't shackle the mind, because once he come back and he wake you up, you understand? You gotta stay awake. You understand? So they cannot really shackle the brain, because somebody could always come back and wake you up. That's my point. Marcus Garvey could always come back and wake you up. So they cannot really shackle the mind, although they could brainwash you and grow you from small, but somebody could always come back and wake you up and refresh you what's going on. You understand? Just like what Marcus Garvey did when everybody was asleep, because we were the generation that came from the slaves before, and we had no idea what was going on. You understand? And then the great Marcus Garvey came and he woke everybody up at that time period. Everybody was into back to Africa, repatriation, red, black, and green. And even that movement Marcus Garvey created in America, from that movement, many other organizations developed, and we see them exist in the Americas today. But let's continue with the speech.
Black men and women, and for all nature's knowledge to you. Turn ye around and make a conquest of everything north and south, east and west. And then when you have wrought well, you will have merited God's blessing. You will have become God's chosen people, and naturally you will become leaders of the world. And as you bow down to the white man today, so will other races bow down to you and call you.
Now, this is the creation of mankind. We, the black race, created all these races. We have dominion over them. Like I tell you, the black man, God gave black man the power and dominion over the whole earth. And the great Marcus Garvey said, you understand? He gave us dominion over the whole earth. We created all these races. So he's saying now, unless we don't have dominion, unless we cannot do what other races have done and take over, unless we cannot take our dominion, right? Just like we bow down to the white man today, we have to make the white man bow down to us. This is the type of dominion we must have, because unless we're not ready to do that, we're not going to have righteousness all four corners of the earth. We're not going to have black supremacy. For as we could see, white supremacy is in power, and they are putting the black at the bottom. Every other race is coming before the black, and the black are the gods that created mankind. So we got to recognize what's going on. We got to recognize what's going on, why we are in slavery, and for what reason that slavery is going on, and we are going through all these horrific acts. We're gonna really look deep into this thing and see what's really going on. You understand? Right? So let's move on. Yeah. We have to have dominion. We must have dominion. Realize that we are the creators of of mankind. And we gotta set them African for the Africans, Europe for the Europeans, Chinese for the Chinese. Everybody gotta have their own thing on a level. You understand? And black supremacy gotta be the world superpower. And if you're not fit to live righteousness on the earth, then the earth is gonna lick you out. Okay, it's a righteous world. You know, it's life over death. You know? So it's either or. So it's gonna be life or death, and we choose life. So it's gotta be black supremacy from planet to solar systems to galaxies to universe. So we are looking at one of the gods of the universe, because God is God is not one man. God is a company of gods, you know. Company of gods. So company of gods is in charge of this universe that we are in. So these gods now could take, these gods are in control of the spiritual realm and the physical realm. So when they are in either realm now, they have the powers now to go through this realm, you know, and do whatever they have to do to aid the freedom of black people. That's why Marcus Garvey telling you, whether in the spirit or in the or in life, you know, he's gonna do everything to see that we get the freedom that we're supposed to get. It's the ancient gods coming back through the cycle of reincarnation. You understand? Because we are the ancient gods of Africa. We're the ancient God who created mankind. You understand? So let's continue with the speech.
You are left masters because of the superiority of your mind and your achievements. Because no race has the last word on culture and civilization. They do not know what we are capable of. They do not know what we are thinking. They are thinking in terms of dreadnoughts, battleships, aeroplanes, submarines. You know what we are thinking about? That is our own private business.
Okay, so we're gonna jump to
So give us credit for being able to use our minds. And with people becoming conscious of themselves, determined to use their minds. For I shall live in the physical or the spiritual to see the day of Africa's glory.
So yeah.
When I am dead, wrap the mantle. Go to hell a million times for you. If I die in Atlanta, my work will only just then begin. For I shall live in the physical or the spiritual to see the day of Africa's glory.
So we see that Marcus Garvey now understood the spiritual realm. You know, you see that he understood the spiritual realm very well. That's why the man telling you whether, you know, because these gods are in control of a specific aspect of creation. That's why he was one of the mightiest prophets ever to be born out of the womb of a woman. You understand? The great Marcus Garvey. You understand? So we learn that black Africans now, we tell the future, we watch it happen, and we predict it, we do all these things. So this is why that's how prophecy comes in. This is why we could tell of we could say like this man is going to come in whatever time and prophesy. So that's why we could link Marcus Garvey to John the Baptist, which is within the Bible. Because although we don't watch the Bible as something literally, so, you know, because it's both literally and spiritually, metaphysically, you know. So although we don't look at most of what people look at the Bible and think it's literal, although we don't do that, but we understand the message of the Bible, the message, because it's the story. If you have to listen, if you have to watch the story will be like fairy tale, right? It won't be logical. So that's not what you gotta look for. You gotta look for the message, right? The message within the story, right? You gotta look for the message within the story, and Marcus Garvey represents that message. That message is in flesh, just like the message of the Christ story. You know, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. We learn that these books are not, they're not actually telling us of something physical that happened, but it holds a certain message, and that message developed into a character, and today we have people fulfilling that character, which is the black people. For black people are the gods. We tell about the future, we write about it, and we wait for it to happen, and we even predict it. You understand? So that's what's going on when it concerns black people and prophecy. So we must not mix up spirituality and prophecy and all these things with religion, or be religious about it. We gotta watch it from a scientific point of view, from a realistic point of view, from all type of point of views that will give us the right connection, so we could see this thing in the right way. You understand? So yes, so let's continue with the speech. Alright?
When I am dead, wrap the mantle of the red, the black and the green around me, for in the new life I shall rise up with God's grace and blessings to lead the millions of the heights and the triumph that you well know. Look for me in a whirlwind or a storm. Look for me all around you. For with God's grace, I shall come back with countless millions of...
So like I said, these gods, you know, ancient gods are in charge of a particular part of creation. That's why he's saying look for him in the whirlwind, look for him in the, you know, because when he come back in new life, he'll be a terror, you know, and all these things. Because these gods could move within the world that is unseen. You understand? They are in control of a certain aspect of creation, just like the woman. The black woman is in control of a certain aspect. She's the one who brings forth everyone. You understand? The black woman is the one who brings forth everyone through a womb. You understand? No one else has this part of creation and controls this part of creation but the woman. Without a woman, no one could come through this reality that we're living in right now, this space that we live in right now. No one could come through the reincarnation cycle if they come through a woman. So we see the power a woman is in, what aspect of creation a woman is in control of. You understand? So you understand now the aspect of creation these gods are in charge of. This is why Marcus Garvey talk the way he talk and speak the way he speak. You never hear any black leader standing for black people rights and looking to free them from the Western world talk in that manner and declare themselves to be God and look for them in a new life, and when they die wrap them in the red, black and green mantle and all these type of things. You know, you never hear no other black leader talking that way. That type of, you know, Marcus Garvey is a man where everybody respect. You understand? This is not them other organizations who come after and develop Islam and develop the Moors and all and the Hebrew Israelites, and they call themselves whatever, and people worship them or whatever. This is a different thing what Marcus Garvey did. You understand? Everybody recognized Marcus Garvey. Everybody came after Marcus Garvey. He is the one who set the greatest example ever to be seen concerning the freedom of black people on that level. You understand? And whoever is standing for freedom for black people is also at the same level with him, and whoever is doing it the right way. So we have other examples. So we're gonna go into the other examples of these ancient gods who came to actually free black people from white supremacy and the negative powers that they are in dealing with is dealing with. Because positive has an energy and negative has an energy also. Negative is a force that is just there naturally, just like energy is a force that is there naturally. You gotta choose which force you want to deal with. You see when somebody come around you with some bad vibes, like you just could feel them people bad vibes even before they say what they want to say, just by the way they acting, and you could just feel the energy off of them. Just like somebody coming around you and you just could feel a positive vibe about them, a good energy about them. Yeah, so you see all this thing has a frequency. All this thing has a vibration, because frequencies come from the vibration. You understand? So let's continue.
Black men and women who have died in America, those who have died in the West Indies, and those who have died in Africa, to aid you in the fight for liberty, freedom, and life. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. They gave leadership to our foreparents, and that leadership made them slaves. Laughter to them. If they mimic you, return the compliment with equal force. Because they have no more right to dishonor, discredit you in manhood than you have in dealing with them. Honor them when they honor you. Disrespect and disregard them when they vilely treat you. Their arrogance is but skin deep, an assumption that has no foundation in morals or in law. They have sprung from the same family tree of obscurity as we have. Their history is as rude in its primitiveness as ours. Their ancestors were running wild in living in trees of branches like monkeys as ours. They made human sacrifice.
So actually, let me see. There is a certain part in this speech, and I have to find that part. And when I find it, I'm gonna pause. When I find that part, before I go into describing what he's saying there right now, I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna find this part. I'm gonna play it first before I get into this one, so I can explain what I want to explain. I'll be black. So yes, black again. I'm black. So yes, so we're gonna continue right into it.
Africa created millions and countless millions of black men and women in war and peace.
Hear that?
Entitled to the highest place as a hero among men.
Listen.
Because Africa created millions and countless millions of black men and women in war and peace.
Africans created millions. You understand? Let's listen to it again.
Whose luster and bravery outshine place as a hero among men. Because Africa created millions and countless millions of black men and women in war and peace, whose luster and bravery outshine that of any.
Africans created millions of countless millions of black men and women. You understand? So when I was talking about the creation of mankind now, in my previous video I was talking about that the black man and the black woman now created mankind, and even before we created mankind, we created black Africans that also look like us. They were the first creation, even before we developed a Chinese or Indian or Caucasian. And these people now, these Africans that we developed, we're gonna hear talking about them soon, right? Just now, when I finish playing, we're gonna hear he's talking about these same. He's comparing these same people to the Europeans. We're gonna hear just now. So when I'm discussing saying that Africans created mankind, but before they get to a mankind now, the first people that they would create, they would be black. So here we have Marcus Garvey saying Africans now created millions, countless of black men and black women. He's actually saying in this speech, and if you listen to the whole speech now, that's the only part where he's saying what he's saying there, and it is the only part that doesn't really actually fits in. You know, it fits in, you know, but you gotta know what level it fits in. To the ordinary listener, they won't see where it fits in, you know. You understand? But I could see where it fits, and that's the only unique part when it comes to creation. You understand? So he's actually telling Africans created millions of black men and black women. He actually said created millions. So it's up to us to figure out what level. You understand? It could be many levels to it. You understand? There are many levels to it. So when I come and say Africans created mankind, but before we created mankind, we had to create the first set of humans that would be Africans, and this set of humans I'm talking about is human beings like this. Alright?
Most African pygmies live in dense
So the
tropical
African
forests
pygmies,
which lie along the Congo
we
River.
call them the hunter-gatherers, right?
Forests with towering
And
trees that almost
you could
shut
see
out
that
the blazing equatorial sun. Beneath these trees, a tangled mass of vines,
let's just listen
heavy
for a
with
while before I
vegetation in
explain what I'm
almost
explaining.
perpetual gloom. Here is found the rare night ape, or bush baby, a shy creature which prowls about the branches in the gloom, and the scaly anteater, repelling in appearance, but a toothsome delicacy to the natives.
So keep in mind what he just said about this, because I want to use it to explain what I'm explaining about this creature right here. He's explaining this. Now this creature lives in the same area these pygmies are dwelling right now, right? These people he is about to document on, right? So they decided of showing this type of monkey-looking creature on the tree, right?
Night ape, or bush baby, a shy creature which prowls about the
Now you see it's a shy creature that prowls around the area, And we're gonna see these pygmy people now. They are in the bush. Why they're in the bush, in the forest living? Because they have animal genetics within them, and it allows them to dwell within the forest, living the way that they live. Understand? So we're gonna see. So when we watch this video now, we're gonna see how these people live and stuff like that. So it will explain to us. So when I say these people are the first people that, some of the first people that we created, black people that we created in Africa, because keep in mind all the different races. The first Chinese was a black man, the first Indian was a black man, the first Caucasian was a black man. So it links into what I'm saying now. The first people that we created, they came out black, they were black. So this is why our tribal people come from also. And this is why they only live in forest areas or desert areas in a certain location, and they live a certain primitive way, like you know, they live the arrows and bows, and they hunt and eat all type of creatures and all different type of things. And as you could see, they wear no clothes, because the animal gene allows them to be shy in the bushes and just crawl around the bushes, the trees, you understand, and just live on the forest, you understand, the way that they do. So we're gonna have a look at them, because by seeing and observing the way that they live, you could see what type of beings they are. You understand? When you hear me say these beings were created, you understand, and they have animal genetics, just watch the way that they live and the way that they put themselves, so you could see the relations. You could see the relations through the levity. So let's go on. The same way when we watch the European and we watch through his levity, and we see that he's like a devil. He's moving like a devil through the earth because of the blood, the trail of blood that he leaves when he passes through civilizations. You understand? So let's go on.
Branches in the gloom. And the scaly anteater, repelling in appearance, but a toothsome delicacy to the natives. Within the forests dwell the pygmies, a dwarf-like people, brown-skinned and shy. Here is a pygmy woman starting to build a hut, which the tribe uses temporarily in its forest wanderings in search of game. The pygmies usually live out of doors, but they build shelters just before the rainy season, which is now approaching. How skillfully the hands
what we're looking at now, we are seeing that the animal and the human genetics, right? It causes it actually, because this is their makeup, right? And it allows them to live like this, right? Because they are part animal too. Remember, they have animal genetics within them. So this is what gives them the science now to actually live within nature and live like a human being and live like an animal at the same time, because of the way they were designed, the way they were created. So if you watch my previous video now, you will understand the level of what I'm talking when I showed you all a particular African tribe of black people with the ostrich feet. You know, whenever these people come together and they make little ones, they make little ones with ostrich feet. This is within the genetics. You understand? So the same way the same way we see a difference of the tribe of people now within Africa living a different way within the forest, and you know, so we could, just by looking at them, you could see the animal and the human nature within them. You understand? So when Marcus Garvey, so let me just play a little more of this, and I'm going to go back to Marcus Garvey. Just observe the way they live and the things they do and the way they look.
Now with this completed, the pygmy woman orders one of her children to bring leaves for a covering.
Because the height and shape of and everything they do has to do with the genetics, right?
Shingle when arranged in double thickness. These magongo leaves are attached to the framework by slits, which have been made in the
don't mean because these people are on the level that they on, like that, don't mean that they don't have intelligence in whatever they are doing. You understand?
Leaf. securing has been completed, it will keep the hut interior dry under the most violent tropical rains. As a finishing touch, branches are added. These help to hold the roof of leaves in place. The house is now complete, and the family promptly moves in. In the moist heat of the tropical forest, the pygmies always keep a fire going, usually to dry themselves and also occasionally to cook their food. Securing vegetables for food is comparatively easy. This one, with baby and homemade basket, will not have far to search for materials which ages of experience have taught the pygmies are good for food. She finds here a vine of apa. Its tuberous roots are somewhat like sweet potatoes, but the apa vine does not require cultivation. The digging knife and other...
Keep in mind that these people don't cultivate, these people don't grow food or anything. These people just live in the forest and they just dwell in the forest only. You understand? There's a certain amount of them. Every tribal people. The reason why there's tribal people call them tribal or hunter gatherers, because it's not a large amount of population in these different tribes. You understand? So these people just live in their little area. Keep in mind, Africa is very big, and these people are just placed in a certain area, and they live like that from generation to generation. You understand? And they don't have no business with the outside world. So this proves that these people were created on a level, you know, with animal and human genetics, and were placed in a specific place, you know, to live, you understand, and exist, you know, amongst many other races and type of people that were created. Keep in mind, Marcus Garvey said millions, right? Millions.
The other people. So why not? Whose luster and bravery outshine that of men? Because Africa created millions and countless millions of black men and women in war and peace.
In war and peace, countless millions
so
of
why
black men
not
and
see
black
good and
women.
perfection in ourselves?
So why
We
not
must
see
inspire
perfection in
others.
ourselves? You know, we have reached, you know, why not see perfection in ourselves?
And promulgate the doctrine of our own without any apologies to the powers that be. That right is ours and God. Let sentiments and cross opinions go to the winds. We are entitled to our own opinions and are not obligated to or bound by the opinions of others. If others laugh at you, return the laughter to them. If they mimic you, return the compliment with equal force. Because they have no more right to dishonor, discredit you in manhood than you have in dealing with them. Honor them when they honor you. Disrespect and disregard them when they vilely treat you. Their arrogance is but skin deep, an assumption that has no foundation in morals or in law. They have sprung from the same family tree of obscurity as we have. Their history is as rude in its primitiveness as ours.
So yeah, so the history is rooted like on primitive, if is that the word he used, and then ours, and that's what he's talking about. He's talking about this creation of people in Africa. They live like this for a very, very long time. So Marcus Garvey now is saying, you know, the white race now, you know, they have been more cannibalism and all this thing more than us. You understand? Let's go back to it.
Their ancestors were running wild in living in trees of branches like monkeys at ours.
Yeah. So the ancestors were running in trees. You know, just like what we've seen here. And branches and just like monkeys. Just like ours.
Pygmies used are obtained in trade with nearby Congo tribes. Another pygmy woman is gathering the fruits of the tewe vine.
You understand? Let me go a little forward just to show.
With the securing of vegetables and fruits, wood for bows, the poison in the juice of this bark is deadly. well-aimed spear, which is always a part of preparation for hunting.
So we see this, so he's referring to these tribal people within Africa.
The designs are
That
intended to
live
give
in
the wearers
trees
a
and
ferocious
hunt
appearance.
and gather, hunter-gatherers you call them. So Marcus Garvey is saying, you know, those Europeans
As a final
practice this
preparation,
lifestyle
this
way more
hunter
than,
gives his bow a
you know,
test
the Africans.
and sees to his arrows.
You know, they were more
Note the
primitive
different
than
types of arrowheads.
so
Each got a
basically
small
what they're saying, these Europeans, they act more primitive and they were more bloodless and they
If
were
the coming
more
hunt is not
monkeys than
successful,
us.
the pygmy village will
This is
move
the
to a
Africans
new
they're
location
referring to
where
when
game
saying
is more
ours,
plentiful.
then ours. Keep in mind he's saying the
Hunters
ours
are
because
led
we're
by
the
their
one who created
sultan
them.
or chief
Ours.
and are accompanied by older boys who are learning this
You
important
understand?
activity.
Keep in mind he's
The
saying
chief
ours.
has determined in advance
The
the
Europeans
scene
and
of
them
the
all
hunt. Deep
as
in
the
the
same,
forest.
just like ours. Running in branches of the trees like monkeys, just like ours. Because we're the one who created them. The black man and
At a
black
proper
woman
time,
created
the
all
Sultani
races.
calls a
So
halt
he's referring to them as ours, as
and
ours. You
dispatches scouts
understand?
into the thickets nearby. Silent hunters with keen ears and
Let's continue.
They made human sacrifices, ate the flesh of their own dead, and wild meat from beasts for centuries, even as they have accused us of doing. Their cannibalism is more prolonged than ours.
Eh? The cannibalism is more prolonged than ours because they took it to a different level. You understand? These Caucasians, they took the cannibalism to a different level where they are drinking blood of their own conquered death. They're eating themselves. You understand? More than ours. You understand?
eyes alert for signs of game. It crashes down. Monkey meat is a great delicacy to the pygmies, and we can imagine the lad's pride in securing the first game of the hunt. A short distance in
So when
another
Marcus
direction,
Garvey is saying ours,
two scouts have
is
come
these
upon
hunter-gatherers
fresh
that he
tracks
is
of the pygmy
referring
antelope,
to.
a common food animal about the
Yeah,
size
this
of a
is
rabbit.
the hours he's comparing to
They signal their
the
comrades.
cracker race, the white race.
The group responds
understand?
quickly and silently.
So there are many different tribal people, many different
hunter
people who live in the
sights the
forest.
quarry.
You know, many different hunter-gatherers.
A truly accurate throw of the spear.
You understand?
Along with the vegetables and the monkey meat, the pygmy antelope
So let's go back. Go black. Let's continue.
When we were embracing the banks of the Nile, they were still drinking blood out of the skulls of their conquered dead. After our civilization had reached the noonday of progress, they were still living in holes with bats, rats, other insects, and animals.
So you see, you know, so they were still living in animals. When we were in high science, high developed. You understand? Because what? We are the ones who created them. You understand? We are the ones who created them because they couldn't speak. They had no language, no alphabet, nothing like this. They were living in caves with animals. They were spliced with animal genetics. That's why they were living with animals and drinking blood and doing all these types of things because we created them by way of engineering. This is a high science that was taking place in Africa. This way, all the skulls of the hominids have been found to give proof to evolution. They have been found in Africa. So they are denying the science that was being taking place in Africa and they tell us evolution. They said nobody did it and they label it with evolution. Although everything is being found in Africa where black people come from. So they're looking for the origin of civilization. They're heading back to Africa. And they're saying it's evolution. They're saying nobody did it. If they're not saying nobody did it, they're saying aliens did it. But they're never going to say the black man did it. Because it will explain the process. You understand? So let's continue.
After we had already unfathomed the mystery of the stars and reduced the heavenly constellations to minute and regular calculus, there were still backwoodsmen living in ignorance and in blatant darkness.
They were living in darkness, in ignorance. They don't know nothing. You understand? While we brought the level of calculating the stars and mapping up the stars to the level that everybody could understand. It's regular. You understand? So, saying that to say now, we give thanks to the great Marcus Mosiah Garvey, that ancestor, that God ancestor who came true. You know, to actually wake us up, and and wake up black people, from the Caribbeans and to the Americas. So we're gonna move on to a next ancestor now that came through the Western world, came to the Western world, and specifically was in the Caribbean. Not like Marcus Garvey, who moved to America from the Caribbean, because Marcus Garvey was from the Caribbean, and he moved to the Americas to send the wood to send the wood to the large amount of Africans that was in the Americas. Just keep in mind, it's a company of gods. It's not one of them coming through the reincarnation cycle. It's a company of gods. God never alone. You understand? Just like some people like to say the black woman is God, but they don't like to say the black man is God, right? So they even go as far as saying the black woman lived on earth by herself. Which black woman will live on earth by herself? And no, man, this is homosexuality. This is homosexual vibes. You understand? Because woman is creating, and there is no other gender. So why woman have a vagina? Woman don't have any feelings. All the things that goes with it. This has to do with evolution, because magically a man just come out from nowhere. So this has to do with evolution. This ties into evolution. Things are being done, and no one is doing it. The X chromosome turned to Y without no reason. And there you have a man. You understand? So all this has to do with evolution. No one is actually doing it. So there is no reason for man being here. The stupid type of arguments people try to bring up. You're not looking at the whole thing. They're just taking a little piece of it and just running with it and trying to create their own cult. You understand? So we're going to go into another ancestor who came through the cycle of reincarnation. You understand? And remember I said there are different levels of the Godhead. Right? Different levels of the Godhead, right? Different levels of the Godhead. Created God's offspring, the different levels of the Godhead, right? It started with Atom, right? So yes. So this is King Emmanuel Charles Edward. And he specifically dwelt in the island we call Jamaica. And just like Marcus Garvey was a revolutionary for the rights and defender of the faith for black people, this man also rise in Jamaica, defending black people and writing to the government and writing to the Queen of England, and actually the first Rastaman to actually write to the Queen of England the level of freedom, redemption, repatriation internationally when it comes to Rastafari. So this man now, which is King Emmanuel Charles Edward, which is the head of the Bobo Shanti, the king of the Bobo Shanti, the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress, Church of True Divine Salvation, this man is the king of that. And he represents an ancient ancestor who came through the passage of reincarnation, the cycle of reincarnation, and came through the slavery to actually wake up his people and show them the standard of the God level, how to live, eat, walk, and drink, and talk, and do all these things as an ancient God, because the company of gods, so some gods have to come back to wake up the other gods that has been fallen asleep, because there are different levels of gods. So the higher gods will always come down to wake up the lower gods that has fallen asleep under what they are going through, what we are going through right now. You understand? So the Honorable King Emmanuel Charles Edward now, He is a certain ancient ancestor that is in control of a specific part of creation. We know that allows us to get salvation and a freedom and a redemption and a homeland also, because one God, one aim, one destiny. There's many gods on the same plane trying to get the freedom of the gods that was taken from the land to brought to the Western world and kill and rape and pillage and murder. So he has to come back and wake up the gods that are being coming through the cycle of reincarnation. So this man here stand up for freedom, redemption, repatriation internationally, and he developed a government which comprised of nation-wide people, which is black Africans, man and woman, and children, under one banner, which is the red, black, and green, and red, gold, and green. Black 5 points, the R symbol, lion symbol, and built a camp that represent Zion Hill, which is Africa. You understand, the way that we desire to worship and live in Africa. He created a mere image of this in the Western world, in Bull Bay, Jamaica. And when the bull goes back to ancient Kemet, the symbol of the bull. You understand? So when we want to recognize an ancient god or ancient ancestor, we just gotta look for certain artifacts like this, right? We're gonna see what now this is King Emmanuel Charles Edward, right? So we're gonna see what links him to the ancient world, that we could say he's the ancient god or ancient ancestor that has come true. So we're gonna go and we're gonna represent. We're gonna look at where are you gonna put this? Just give me a moment. I'm gonna pause and I'll be right back. I'm gonna find it. Yes, I black again. So I was saying we're gonna look at some ancient gods, and we're gonna see certain aspects concerning them, and we're gonna see what relates them to King Emmanuel and what signs we could look for to see that this is the ancient god come back and has created a government that all black men and women should come under, for the freedom of the takeover of this world, to spread black supremacy all four corners of the earth. So I'm gonna say, if you join any organization and it doesn't stand for freedom, redemption, repatriation, it doesn't see itself as a government where all black men and women should come under, you understand? And not just to say it, but actually has it has the foundation of the government, the design of how it should be built, and what we should have within that government, because it's churchical, statical, governmental, sabbatical, all these things within the government. This is why Marcus Garvey say we have to teach our children the higher science of development. You understand? So within that government, we have to have scientists, we have to have all different levels, all factions within this government to develop a worldwide black supremacy that will take over the world. You understand? So we're going to go to some depictions right here, and we're going to see the relations of this ancient god concerning King Emmanuel Charles Edwards. To prove that he's an ancient ancestor come back to free his people and give them a particular way of lifestyle to live. And this is King Emmanuel Charles Edward. And as we could see, he has an ancient dress, and the way he looks and everything is ancient. Everything about him is ancient. This is the man with the bearded face, the white hair with the bearded face. He's clothed with his head to his foot, and his foot looked like it was burnt in a furnace. And as you could see, he holds a shepherd's rod, which represent the Messiah figure, the God figure. This is an ancient symbol that represents the God figure. So wherever you see this figure, you know this is an ancestor that has come back. You understand? This is an African that was existing in the Western world, specifically the island Jamaica. So let's go forward and see what this this device right here we're gonna see this device. We're gonna see who was this device in the ancient world. So as we could see, immediately the god Atom, and it's described as this figure right here. And as we all know, this is the you know. And so, but we are more focused on this figure right, this instrument right here, this science right here. And we could see this relates to this. So anybody you see come with the R, right? Anybody you see come with this, you know it's this. You know it's an ancient god ancestor. Now keep in mind, King Emmanuel is in charge of a specific realm of creation. He's the one who actually gives people life and salvation and these type of things. You understand? So anytime you see this being represented by someone that stands for freedom of people, of black people, you know it's an ancient god of an ancient ancestor that came back. Right? So when we even go even further now, we see it's the same god Atom. When you get double crown, Atom was a creator god. He's a creator god. That's why he's the head of the Bobo Shanti, and he made us gods and goddesses. He's the creator god. King Emmanuel make his followers gods and goddesses. He's the creator god. He shows us, he gives us a mechanism of how to live to be a god. Atom was the first god to exist on earth. He is the head of the Bobo Shanti. Let's go further. So we see the bull, right? And this man, the place King Emmanuel resides, and the place he created his government, is called Bull Bay. We see the bull, right? And the bull represents Hathor in some cases. So this is Atom. And keep this in mind. Let's go even forward. So we see where other traditions who rub off African tradition took the concepts from. So we could see this depiction here one time. So let's go forward. So you have to go on Abyss and look at the structure of his rod or his staff, or however you want to call it. Look at the structure, right? Let's go back. Look at the structure. You see the hook? Same hook. So this is evidence. This is proof. This is the ancient god that has returned, and we see this ancient god carry their scepter or staff, however you want to call it, shepherd rod, however you want to call it. We see whenever the gods have been depicted, they never without this. This is a universal symbol of God's ship, right? So whenever you see one in our time that carry this and stands for freedom, redemption, repatriation, and creates a government and creates a culture that's spread out through the world, and we are Bobo Shanti all over the four corners of the earth. This is the ancient God has come back. He's the creator of gods, right? So we're gonna go. Let's see if we could see some more photos of this man. So as you could see, right? As you could see, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. This is why a lot of pics have been taken with this. This is what he symbolizes. It's the same thing. And he represents the 5-point star. Also, the black star that we see all over the walls of Kemet. The black star. This is on his banner also. The black 5-point star and the lion symbol. And we know the lion is highly represented in Ethiopia and in Kemet. The lion symbol on the banner. We see the same symbol. This man represents the message of all that has been said. So when we read the Bible, we know it's not literal, but the message of the Bible concerning the freedom of the children of God, this man is a representation of that message. The message took flesh. You understand? The message is flesh. Because it only could be a message. There must be flesh first for there to be a message. You understand? So we see this man represent, he has his symbol to represent the ancient God that has returned. You could see the R. This ancient God has returned. So you could see him representing himself as the ancient God that has returned. The black God, the black Christ. The ancient black God of ancient time, or ancient world. Atom, the first God. Remember, it's not one man in the company of gods, you know. We just spoke about the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey as a God. So he who represents a certain aspect, and this is another God that represents a certain aspect of creation. The different levels to the Godhead. Remember, Godhead, there's a head. You understand? So we see the different gods, and we see they all have their symbol with them. They always have it sitting down, whether they're standing up. As you could see, King Emmanuel is sitting down on his throne. This God is sitting down on the throne with his staff. So we could see this man, this ancient man in Jamaica now. He came expressing all the ancient highness of the gods. Ancient gods. You understand? Ancient gods. You see Horus with the locks. This is Horus with the locks. You understand? And King Emmanuel is Horus with the locks. This is the Rasta man with the locks. The turban, the locks. You understand? This is Horus with the locks. The staff. It all links up. Ancient gods and them came back. They came black. You understand? So we see ancient God, children of the Most High. You understand? Atom, Ptah, all these gods. You understand? Brought back the ancient way of beating drums and wearing clothes, and the right type of clothes and the right way to walk and talk and drink and eat and everything. This man brought the high science of developing the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress, the first ancient way of living when it comes to praising nature, when it comes to acknowledging nature, and praising the Creator, the first God. You understand? As you could see, he forever has his high symbol that links him to ancient Africa. So this man is expressing the fullness of ancient Africa as an ancient African God has come back to redeem his people from slavery, from the demon world, the underworld, hell. This man has gone through hell. Marcus Garvey said, haven't I gone through hell 1,000,000 times for you? You understand? So this is the whole science of it. So without any doubt, any shadow of any doubt, we could link this man to these ancient hieroglyphics, these characters right here, as the gods that come back. So when the ancient Egyptians depict their gods as man and woman, and they're describing the natural forces of life and nature and air and the cosmos and everything, there is, yes, it also represents nature and everything, but it still represents man also. Is both literally and spiritually, metaphysically, I should say. You understand? So a man really and truly represents all of this. There's a specific God in control of every creation. So man and woman represent every aspect of creation. Like Marcus Garvey said, God gave man in charge of creation and everything. You understand? We are the creator and creators. From one God to the other, we all are gods. You understand? So let's go back to this right here. And we're gonna start at 4:55. Okay, we're gonna start around here. So give thanks.
Send your heart to as you just right. You know? The black man have a right. The white brother has no right. The white people take away the black man right and use it. And we work as slaves.
So basically what he's saying in this little moment that I just played there. Basically this is what now this is the chapter 9, the creation of mankind. That's what we're discussing. So this ancient God is saying you that the white man has no right, right? The white man stole the black man right and run with it. You understand? So he's showing the white world has no right. You understand? It's basically what he's saying. You know, and the white man stole the black man right and created a world for himself. You understand? Like I told you, they stole all our arts and sciences and all our knowledge and everything and put us in slavery to create a world for themselves. Let's go on.
So we say we come and take back the white man right and go back the black man, or the black man world right.
So he just said that we gotta take the black man right from the white man. So we gotta take our right and give it back to the black man. So the white man will be left with no right. Because I keep telling y'all that we are the ones who created mankind. And we're the ones that give them rights. So if we take back the right from them, they have no right. We have all the power to take the right from them. Because we are the creator of these people. The black man and black woman created mankind. So now they have put us in slavery and took our rights and want to kill us and rape us and do all type of horrific acts that we went through slavery and we are still going through 2019. That's why we gotta know what's going on. We gotta know what the level of the races of the creation. We gotta take our dominion back, and if we can do what other races have done, if we can take over, just like the Europeans take over, if we can come and take over and do all these things. That doesn't mean we have to kill and rape and pillage and do as they do, but we gotta do the right part of it. You know, all the right aspects of it, we gotta take that same aspect and take over and leave out the bad parts. You know, leave out all the negativity part of it, but take the good aspect of it that actually empowered them to actually conquer. And now they are white supremacy and they are setting the standards. So we gotta take our dominion. We gotta take our freedom. Freedom will not be given to us. We gotta take our freedom. We gotta develop until we take our freedom and set our right and take our right. Let's continue.
I didn't know that himself too, the white people know that himself. And when I had to come and back to shit, I couldn't help it.
Do you have plans to grow, get bigger, get more members in?
I want to. I have a plan to get more and a plan to get some black side and the water deal to go home. I won't take no part in Jamaica no more, and the moment I might start sitting there. I don't want.
You still want to go back to
Almost natural. Nothing could stop me. Not judgment. Yeah? Yeah? So I would tell you who me in Jamaica, they're falling apart. They couldn't hold it into the world. Who me to a moment, I know they couldn't hold me far. They couldn't hold me to reality. At all times.
Can you explain to me
So
the setup,
So this black man that's interviewing this ancient god now is asking him that if he, and this is in the time that this is in his time. So he's asking him if he has any plan to get bigger within his government. So he say, oh yeah, sure. And he also have plan to get freedom, redemption, repatriation to the Mal Black Side on a ship to transport black people to the Eastern world. Right? Yeah. And let me just bring it a little.
Can you explain to me,
So yeah, basically he's saying that, after he said that, he said, they could hold him for a moment, but they couldn't hold him for all of reality. You understand? It's just for a moment. Because it's a work that's being done and we are at a certain angle, certain stage, because keep in mind, white supremacy has developed while we're in slavery and we're being killed and they're developing. So they have a great advantage, concerning the standards. Understand? So let's continue.
We come home and feel that of our times.
Can you explain to me, you know, the setup? You know, the gentlemen are called Prince, and you know, the whole how the church is set up, right?
Oh, you see, come up with it now, two prince, you know, and you couldn't get a prince, you have a king. Until you don't cry with you for a king, I say that for a ruler, but I say that, and Lord is the king, and Lord is the prince, and also empress for the princess and goddess.
So basically, this ancient god now, the man who's interviewing him asked him why do we call, you know, how can we come up with the term prince and princess? So as you could see, the ancient god, like he said, oh, like, you know, he went far into his meditation, not far, but like it took him back. Somewhere this question took him back in the time period. So he's saying that God is the first king. You know, he's the Christ, he's the first king, and from king you have children, and they'll be prince and princess. You understand? You can't have a prince and you have a princess. You can't have a king and you have a queen. You understand? So it all goes one after the other. The ancient gods, like I said, from God to gods. You understand? It's from one god to the other god, like I said. So that's basically how it is answering. God is the first king, and then you have queen, and then you have prince and princess. You know, you have God and goddess. This is exactly what he's explaining. You understand? They created the gods of spring, God after God. You know, it started with Atom. You understand? So it's exactly what he's saying.
That's why this thing comes, because the first God was a king, like the black God of this world. He was a king, and we are the prince and princess, Father God and goddess, Father around. But he was a God and he was a king. So we are his children. So we must be a prince and we must be a goddess, and you know.
It's only natural.
Thank you.
But you know, I don't want from the right, right, that's right, you know. But I'm not, don't make me nice. I won't teach you, I tell anything I will wild man of good. Because if I tell you that, I don't tell you say.
So basically, the ancient God is explaining all this to him. You know, told him from first God is the first king, and from king you have queen, and king and queen, and then prince and princess, and God and goddess, and you know. So basically, what he's putting to him in a nutshell, that he won't teach him anything concerning the white man of good. So if he teach him anything good of the white man, he's teaching him out of himself. You understand? For we give them right. No, we give them right, but they took our right, so we have to take our right back. The white man have no right. You understand? So if he teach you anything good of the white man, he's teaching you out of yourself. So this black God is warning us. He's actually warning us of thinking good of the white man. Because you'll be taught out of yourself. It's black supremacy that governs the earth, not white supremacy. It's black over white. This is the natural way of earth. This is the natural way things should be. The black supposed to be on top. The blacks are the creators of mankind. You understand? So basically that's what's going on.
No? But that's about yourself now. That's about your God. That black man will have a God. I don't want to come to yourself.
One God created everybody.
One man, you know? Super.
You think one man created both black and white?
So yes. So like I was saying now, we're gonna learn what caused slavery, right? We're gonna learn what caused slavery and why these white supremacists is just raping and pillaging and killing and pedophilia and all different horrific sexual acts and horrific sexual killings, I mean, and all different type of things being done by this Caucasian race. And we see the Chinese and them are other race that is actually doing the same thing that the Europeans are doing. Likewise, the Indians. And we learn all of them are under the creation of mankind. And all of them have animal genetics within them. You understand? So we learn that other races enslaved us even before the white race enslaved us. The Arabs and all of them also. You understand? So all these races are under the banner of mankind. They're the ones that were engineered. They're the ones we created. Check it. So the reason why, in a nutshell, before we go into this, so the reason why now, actually, I should just go into the video before I give it up. Although I've said it before, but, you know. So yeah, so I'm gonna highlight this video. This is Frankenstein, right? We're gonna listen to the video and see what I'm gonna relay this video to telling you what caused slavery, right? And keep in mind, this is the creation of mankind. And if you know about Frankenstein, you know Frankenstein and what he created, right? He created a monster, half human, half monster, right? Figure. So we're gonna go.
Frankenstein begins when a young man named Captain Walton takes a ship into the Arctic Ocean. He's hoping to make important scientific discoveries. His ship gets...
Now keep in mind, don't follow the story as something in reality, right? But just try and get the message. All we're doing here is just sifting out the message, right? We're not looking at this literally, right? It's just the message we're trying to sift out and compare it to what's being said already, right? That's all we're doing here.
Stranded for a few days when a sheet of ice forms all around it. To his amazement, he and his crew see a gigantic man, about 8 feet tall, driving a dog sled across the ice until it disappears in the distance. A little later, they see a normal-sized man on another dog sled, chasing the first one. This man is almost dead from exhaustion and exposure, so they take him aboard. The man is Victor Frankenstein. Walton becomes friends with him, and while Frankenstein is recovering, he tells Walton his story. Frankenstein grew up in Geneva. His father had been an important figure in the government, and they were well off. He grew up with his cousin, Elizabeth, whom his parents expected him to marry eventually. He had a little brother named William. He had a best friend named Henry Clerval. Frankenstein goes to a famous university in Ingolstadt, where he becomes very good at science. He figures out scientifically how to bring something to life, though he doesn't tell us what the secret is. He makes a creature using parts from a graveyard. On a rainy night in November, he brings it to life, but he's so horrified by it that he runs away. The next day, his friend Clerval arrives at the university to begin his studies, but Frankenstein becomes ill, and Clerval spends all winter nursing him. Just as he's getting better at the beginning of spring, he gets a letter telling him that his little brother, William, has been murdered. Justine, a servant in his house whom everyone always liked, has been arrested.
So we see the horrific act by this creature Frankenstein created. First person he killed was the little one. So we see Frankenstein was created and he was upset of the way that he was created. And the first thing he decided to do was kill in order to get back to the one that created him. You understand? So let's continue. So you can see where I'm going with this already, right?
Because William had been carrying a locket that was found on her, so Frankenstein heads home. Just before he gets home, he sees the monster from a distance, and he knows that the monster killed his brother. Frankenstein watches Justine's trial, and his cousin, Elizabeth, testifies that she's too nice to have done this, but she's convicted and sentenced to death. Frankenstein has to watch her die. Frankenstein goes with his family on a sightseeing trip, and one day, when he goes mountain climbing by himself, the monster appears to him and makes him sit down and listen to his story. Frankenstein would rather kill him, but he listens. The monster describes how he came to life completely disoriented. He didn't know how to speak or understand language, and he had to get used to the feel of his own body, and to figure out basic concepts like light and dark, heat and cold, and hunger and
So who on the planet Earth that goes into to the elements of the earth and trying to figure out how it worked? We know it's the Caucasian. Right? They couldn't speak. They lived in caves. You understand? They had no speech. You understand? Everything had to be taught to them. They had to be civilized. This comes so we could see the creation of mankind. So we're not watching the literal story, but we are just examining the message within this story. So basically, what they're telling you is what I'm relating to you, what I'm relating to you right now. Check it. The reason why, slavery took place and why this white race is killing and doing all it, because of they're upset of the way that they were created. That's why they're obsessed with finding out the origins of man and finding out what created them and coming up with all crazy theories. You're crazy about that. They're upset to find out that they were created, that they are not part of the God realm. They are lower creation. So they're upset. So now they're causing war on the gods that created them. As you could see, as this creature was created, first person he went is the little one to get back to his master. So this white race now is ravishing and killing everyone in his path, whether they are same species even with him or not, because he's not the only creation. He's not the only one that represents the creation of mankind. There are many existing people that represents the creation of mankind, and this white creation now went out wiping out every single race that he came in contact with. You understand? Let's continue.
thirst. He eventually wandered out into the forest, where he could hide and look for berries and nuts. The first human he sees is an old man in a hut, who runs away in terror because the monster is so hideous. He's fascinated by the first village he walks into, but the residents are terrified, and they drive him off by throwing things at him. He finally finds shelter in this little shed built up against the side of a cottage. He can look through a crack and observe the people who live there, but they don't know he's there. These people are called the DeLaceys, a brother and sister named Felix and Agatha, and their blind old father, who plays the guitar. The creature sees how much they love each other, and he wants to be like them. He starts learning language by listening to them speak French. One day, an Arabian woman named Saifi arrives. Saifi doesn't speak English or know much about European culture, so Felix teaches her everything from vocabulary and reading to history, and the monster learns along with her. He learns to read and write, and about good and evil, and about the history of human societies. In the woods, he finds 3 books.
So they show you the monster being civilized, right? By learning how to read and do all this type of things. So, so this is why civilized, the name, the word civilization comes in and everything that comes with it. You understand? You have to learn how to read, write, learn about alphabets, different sciences. All this has to do with civilization. So they're actually showing you the message, the stories. The stories actually showing you the messages of what I'm saying. You understand? Let's just go a little lower.
Paradise Lost, The Sorrows of Young Werther, and Plutarch's Lives, and he reads the papers that were in Frankenstein's dressing gown, which reveal who Frankenstein is, where he lives, and how he came to make the monster. The monster starts to hate Frankenstein for giving him such an awful, lonely existence, and abandon.
See, like I said, this is why we're going through all these horrific acts within slavery. Because the monster is upset of how he was created. You understand? He's upset of how he was created, so he's going to take revenge on Frankenstein. And he learned who Frankenstein is and the science of how he was created. So he's upset now that Frankenstein created him. So he's going to take revenge and cause terror and havoc on Frankenstein and kill all Frankenstein's family. So let's keep on. So this is exactly what the black race is going through. This is exactly what the black race is going through. The white race represents the monster Frankenstein created. Frankenstein represented by the scientists. Keep in mind, Frankenstein is a scientist. So the scientists represent the ancient black Africans that dwelt in high science and created mankind. That's who they represent. So let's continue.
Him, since he's too ugly to make friends with anyone. Eventually, the monster learns the story of these people. The de Lacys were a rich family in Paris, but Felix helped a wealthy Turk escape from prison because he felt sorry for him. So the government took the de Lacy family's money and banished them, and they went to live in the cottage. The Turk did escape from prison, but he abandoned Felix afterward. But the Turk's daughter, Safi, had fallen in love with Felix, so she escaped to come marry him. The monster wants to be friends with the de Lacys, and he decides that if he goes to talk to the old man first, the old man will listen, because he's blind. When the others leave, he pretends to be a traveler, and speaks to de Lacy, and it's going okay until Felix and Agatha and Safi come back. The women are horrified, and Felix drives the monster off with a stick. At first, the monster goes out into the woods and decides that he's going to declare war on humans. But in the morning, he cools down and decides to go back and try again. But he finds Felix giving up the lease, and he never sees the de Lacys again, which makes him feel doubly rejected. He comes back at night and destroys the cottage. Then he starts the long walk to Geneva to try to find his creator. He gets...
So, the Caucasian race is the only race that is trying to find the God particle to see where everything comes from. So he's going all over the world, ravishing and killing and murdering, trying to find his creator. Listen, trying to find his creator, because he's upset of the way he was created. You understand? So you see how it ties up into all what I'm saying? Let's continue.
Shot while he's on his way there, just because he stops to help a woman who's drowning. When he gets to Geneva, he grabs this little boy, thinking that he can use the boy to learn his way around. But when the boy mentions his father's name is Frankenstein, the monster kills him to get revenge on Frankenstein. You might notice that there's an inconsistency in the story here, because Victor made the creature in November, then got sick all winter. William got killed the following spring, maybe 6 months later. But the creature spends a whole year at the cottage, and he kills William more like 18 months after being created. So there's a difference of a year between the two stories. Just to be even more hateful, he puts the locket William was carrying in Justine's pocket, knowing she'll be condemned for murder. The monster insists that Frankenstein make a female as ugly as he is, so he'll have a companion. He promises to go away with her to South America, and threatens to kill lots of people if Frankenstein won't do it, so Frankenstein agrees. Frankenstein decides to go on a long trip and work on the new monster away from home. So he and Clerval go on a long sightseeing trip through Germany, England, and Scotland. He eventually rents a little cottage on a remote island in Scotland to do the work. But he gets disgusted and destroys the new creature before it's finished. The monster comes in to find out what he's doing, and is furious that Frankenstein broke his promise. The monster swears he'll get revenge, and says, "I'll be with you on your wedding night." Frankenstein takes all the parts and puts them in a basket, then sails out in a boat at night and dumps it all. Then he goes to sleep in the boat. When he comes to shore, he's in Ireland, and the people arrest him. It turns out someone strangled his friend, Clerval, and they think Frankenstein did it. He gets sick again, because he's so upset that the monster killed another of his friends. A magistrate has him nursed back to health. He's eventually released, since he didn't kill Clerval. He goes back home, and he marries Elizabeth, like they've been planning.
So we could see Frankenstein is killing everybody in his path. Everybody that's in the path of getting to the creator, Frankenstein is killing. So we could see the path of the Caucasians, white supremacy. They're killing everything in the path to get to the God particle, trying to get to the creator. You understand?
Planning their whole lives. He thinks the monster is planning to kill him on his wedding night, so he sits up waiting with a gun, but the monster actually kills Elizabeth. His father dies of grief soon afterward, so Victor has lost everybody. He devotes his life to finding the monster and destroying it, but the monster keeps going farther and farther north, until they're chasing each other on dog sleds far out to sea.
So I'm going to stop there, right? So now, we see now why I'm saying that So we see the reason why we are in slavery and why we're going through all these horrific acts. And we are still going for things up to the day like today. We are still captive. You understand? We are still captive up to the day like today. You know, until it's not black supremacy, we are still captive. White supremacy still is in charge. You understand? So we see now why we are going through slavery, right? And what caused slavery. So I give you a good example, good understanding if you're following, you know, of the creation of mankind and what happened and what caused slavery and why we are in slavery. In a sense, we saw what caused it. The race that we created was upset of the way we created them, and they wanted to come in our liberty within our temples and, you know, be as same standard as a God. You understand? And we couldn't allow that. You understand? So they were upset and they ravage and kill and do all types of sorts of things, steal and go and build their own world. All these types of things, like I was just explaining a while ago. So we're going even deeper, right? We're going even deeper.
Because they were coming.
We're going even deeper now, and we're going to see what we went through in slavery, and we're going to compare, you know, what we see in this video here and what I'm saying, to even get a brighter picture, you know, on the level of horrific acts that has been taking place on black people concerning, you know, creation of mankind and what it cost us. Because I have not gotten into why or who are the black Africans who broke out on, you know, so we're gonna get and created mankind, because a specific branch of the gods created mankind. You understand? So we're gonna, this is a different topic, but I just mentioned it, you know. So we're gonna go into this video and we're gonna see what relations we find concerning the creation of mankind and what we went through slavery. So we're gonna link up everything together, right? Give thanks.
For a larger purpose. They wanted to take the human resource from the African continent, which was us, the most valuable resource on the African continent, and they had some plans to build their own civilization and use the wealth of our knowledge and understanding to do it.
So like I was just saying, you know, the number one resource is us, and they're gonna use our information, everything, to build a new world. Because what we created them, and they're upset that we created them the way that we created them. You know, we didn't make them a god like as we are. So they were upset. You understand? I was upset that we created them differently. You understand? So it's exactly what I'm saying. Instead of saying the same thing that I was trying to explain. So let's continue.
So they would strip us from our families and strip us naked and take us to these dungeons where they would pack us in like sardines in the dungeons first, starve us half to death so we would become weak. And we could barely fight, and then they would force us to get out, and they would put us on the water on these prisons on the ocean called slave ships. The first one was called the ship Jesus, captained by Sir John Hawkins. First slave ship they put our ancestors on. And they would always have a white Catholic priest standing there and said, God has ordained now that you are to be the slave of the white race for eternity.
Now this is on a human level, right? I'm using the word human for this express. So this is cattle on a human level, and this is why we've been treated like this, because we are considered cattle. You understand?
Jesus Christ is your new God, and you will love him and you will obey him. And they said, remember this and don't forget it, because if you do, you can die. You no longer have a history. You no longer have a culture. You no longer have an identity. You didn't have a mother. You don't have a language. You are, always will be, a nigger. That's your new identity. You're going to call yourself that. You're going to call your children that. You're going to answer to that. You're going to bow to that. That is who you are, who you will be. You will not have an identity because you have no self-respect. You are a nigger. You will repeat that. You will answer to it.
And they said the first set of slaves they brought in the ships, right? This is just a movie, and this is just an aspect of what we're trying to explain. So this is the first set of slaves. So you see, it was hard to contain the first sets of slaves, right? Some would jump off the boat and whatever. Some would fight any chance they get, right? So let's continue.
You will carry that for eternity. That's all you'll ever be, is a servant to white interests and your new God, Jesus Christ. And I, as a white, am a representative of your new God. Do you know your new name? And so many of our ancestors didn't understand, but they was resisting that because they said, no, I got a language. I have a history. I have pride. No, you're not going to strip my identity from me. They might not have known why they were trying to steal the identity, but some just refused to die. And so we would struggle and fight. We would continue to use our language when they weren't looking. We would continue to remember our customs. Some of our ancestors put the watermelon seeds in their mouth when they were leaving because they said, I want to have something that reminds me of home when I leave. I'm an African. I'm a God. I'm a Shanti. I know who I am. They won't take me from me. So I'm going to remember however I can. The sisters will remember the songs they sang when we were in Africa. And during the course of this 200-year period, they killed so many of our ancestors. I mean, imagine they make us just throw our ancestors overboard. They killed so many millions of our ancestors.
Yeah, because we were considered cattle. So they are taking cattle from one point to bring to the other. And these cattle now are these cattle, like they're giving trouble, so they're going to do whatever it takes to keep and to get whatever amount to the other side. So whatever amount they reach with on the other side, right? They know they're going to multiply that with the breeding program. So it didn't care to them who died or who jumped over. It didn't really, but from time they reached on shore with a couple, they, male and female, they could start their breeding program to produce more because they're not really interested in these captives right here. They're not really interested. They just need them to start the breeding program to bring in the new slaves that will be coming in, that will have no idea what's going on. So now they could use these new slaves and control them to the full capacity to do and to build a new world without any resistance. So henceforth they could do whatever they want to do with them. They could have them as sex slaves and do whatever they want to do with them because they are grown under the level of white supremacy. White supremacy are their gods at this period. You understand? And they grew them from the womb. So they grew them like cattle. So they're going to grow obeying master. You understand? They will grow obeying the master, whatever master says. You understand? So they wasn't really interested in these first slaves. So when you get a whole bunch of them, if 10 die or any amount die, it don't really matter. From the time you get a certain amount across, you could use that amount to develop more and more. This is how the Western world was built. Or they have so many different Caribbean countries, and all of them is filled with black people. So that's how we grew. You know how we were bred until we filled up every Caribbean island. The same thing was done to the Americas also. You understand? Because Africa is millions of people. So it doesn't matter if millions of people fall into the sea just to get 5 people over. From the time they get a certain amount over, they could create millions out of that. You understand? So that's the technique they were using. That's why they don't care with what they look at us as cattle. You understand?
That the Atlantic shark stopped hunting for food in the ocean. And they started traveling on a new migration pattern that they follow to this very day. Because they could follow the slave ships and they knew that there would be fresh meat for them to eat. They stopped hunting in the ocean, the sharks.
That's right.
Because our ancestors became their most enjoyed meal. Some of our people said, you will not take my identity. In fact, it became such a revolutionary process. Some of our people said, I'd rather jump over and die and take my babies with me. Sometimes all groups would just jump over and say, I'd rather die than lose my identity and have no respect and be a slave and a servant to you.
That's right.
And so they said, no, I'm going to beat this out of you. Because we were rebellious. We didn't want it. They said, what's your name? And that black man would say, my name, I'm going to shot thee. He said, you are a nigga. And they would take that whip. They would rip through the back of the brother. He said, I'm Wolof. You'll never change me. And many of our ancestors died fighting, never giving up their identity, never accepting anything less than being proud, productive African people, the beginning of civilization. But see, they would rip through the backs of our ancestors saying, I will make you submit to a new identity, because unless I strip your self-respect from you and you can answer to a new identity, I can't do what I intend to do, so I'm going to break you. Some of us didn't break. A lot of us broke.
Exactly what I was saying. They couldn't have used the first slaves that was brought over because they wouldn't break. This is why they suffered all these horrific acts. You understand? They couldn't break. So they have had to have developed the breeding program. You understand? Let's continue.
Teeth out of our ancestors and shove a muzzle in their mouth and shove slop down the throat. This is how we got here. This is what happened.
Speak on it.
It wasn't no easy way to get here.
Speak on it.
And so then we were fighting the whole way. Don't ever let nobody tell you we didn't fight. We fought all the time, the entire process, the whole way we fought.
That's right.
So sometimes they say, you know what, they're getting too rebellious. They would tie us together, 10, 15, 20 at a time, sometimes 40 or more, and then weight rocks down. And if the sharks weren't so full from eating our ancestors, of course, they would just attack and eat us right when we went in the water. But sometimes they were so full from eating, they couldn't even eat. So one by one, tied together, weighted down with rocks, our ancestors would just sink into the ocean. And even though we don't know what was at the bottom of the ocean, one thing we can guarantee ourselves is that our ancestors' DNA is there. But you see, that was just the first part of this trip. Because once they got us on shore, now the real dehumanization process begins, because now they strip us naked, men, women, and children. And now, you know what I'm talking about. They had to auction us off, you know, but they had to make us look good, so they would take pig lard and shine our bodies up like...
And what they would do also, they have different, so they have a whole, so whatever amount of Africans they have brought to shore, right? They would take some to sell for other white folks. They would take some of them to actually breed, to actually make new slaves, and they would take others to do all different other type of things. So we were being used on many different levels, because we are cattle and they will look at us as human cattle. So the human cattle could do way more things than an ordinary animal. When you could just use animals just to do one, two things when you have animals breeding. But when you have a human beings now breeding as cattle, now you could do a lot of things with them. You're in charge of them, you tell them when to eat, sleep, drink, and all these type of things. You understand? So that's the level white supremacy had black gods. You understand? Ancient people.
Brothers do with their Cadillac to get it nice and shiny, because Europeans were coming to this market to buy our ancestors.
That's right.
And so we had no right to protect our own selves in these Europe to the slave plantations. There was another place where the feminization of the black male became really deep and penetrating. It was called the sex farm. And this is the area where the black man had everything that made him a man from him. His job is to protect his black women and children. But now he has been stripped of that.
Now,
and
keep
now
in mind,
he's been trained
by that standard and by that level. You know, at that time, when you have the sex farms and, you know, things in that is in a certain process already. You understand? Children have been born because they're using children also in the sexual acts, little girls, little boys. So by that time period, things have progressed because children have been born on all these type of things. You understand? So they're using the babies for all different type of things also.
To be the salesman of the sexual exploit of our people. And so rich whites would go to the sex farms and they would get these black males who they strip at manhood. He won't kill for his women. He won't die for his race if necessary. He now is the sexual salesman of his own women. And he says, come on, let me show you what he got. Do you like her? Today we call it pimping. But he was forced out of the process of manhood to say, look, here my women are available for you. Let me show you this one. You want to take her in the back and try her out? Let me show you this one. Oh, you can't touch her. She's never been as much as kissed. The price on her, I don't think you got pockets that deep. He became the actual salesperson, which means everything that made him a man had been stripped from him. He was a man who took pride in the sexual exploitation of the very people his manhood demands that he protect. This is a process that they put our people through. And so these Europeans can be very freakish. So grown males, grown females was one price, but they really like the little young girls, 5 to 15 years old. And they would train a black male. They would pay him.
So these little girls that they represent, the little girls are being born from the sex, the breeding program. And these newly fresh breed girls who've been growing up, they groom them to fulfill that certain aspect when it comes to the European pedophilia. You understand? So, like it ties back into what I said. They didn't really use the first slaves. They just used them, most of them, for actually they use them for all different reasons. But the most important reason was the sex farms, where you could breed to make more slaves, because you wouldn't be going back and forth trying to get more people, because it's getting more dangerous and more dangerous. Because now everybody knows slaves have been taken from Africa. It's getting more dangerous, so you understand. So after time it will stop. So you gotta use what you have on shore now to breed and make more and make more and make more. Like I said, that's how all the different Caribbean countries was filled up with black people. You understand? Let's continue.
Nice clothes and economic benefit. He would train these little young girls to dance and gyrate before the world and present themselves as sexually titillating to these grown white males who could then buy them and take them home as sexual slaves, or could take them in the back and have their way with these little girls. Can you imagine black men being reduced to such a level?
Video.
And I want y'all to see this because it's important to understand. Imagine in your mind being so reduced as a man that you
chapter 9,
actually take pride in receiving gifts and economic benefits from the exploitation of your own women.
You know?
Can you imagine a time I don't have nothing that marks manhood? Come on, little girl, let me show you.
So we learn that
how
the different races now,
yourself to the
they
world
have the
as a sexual object, so that can have some benefit.
Way that they were created, and that's why they created all these rich acts now. Black people now,
even training them
ways.
to
Other
do
black people
this.
adopt these ways because of slave mentality.
Slavery was a horrible day.
Process, or what we are showing here. So this
Even it got to the point where we would do it so
homosexuals,
long,
this creates
we would literally
prostitution, this creates. So
be
we
out
see,
there
you see
with
where
our
all the things black people are
showing
doing
them how to act
on a
feminine.
corruption level,
So
where
we
it
would
comes
feminine and
from slavery. This is
demonstrate,
the origin of it.
teaching them so long we would even teach
When we
the
were in
women that we were
captivity.
dealing with, they became women.
You understand?
And at some point, it got to the point where we taught our women to desecrate themselves, and then they began to teach our daughters. This was called slavery.
That's right.
I don't know if you remember that process, but it was a horrible process. I don't know how much you know about it. But remember, the European didn't like females at all. He always wanted to reach his highest and noblest aspirations. And that was always to be with a little boy.
So give
And
thanks.
so the
You know, stay tuned
Europeans would have a
for
room where the
chapter
white
10.
male would train the little boys with oral sex and anal sex. And they would train them.
This is
They
the
would
end
shine
of
them up
chapter 9.
like females. They would put earrings
Creation of
on them,
mankind. Lord
and put
save
them in
us,
dresses.
7 part. Give thanks.
put
Jah,
makeup on them.
Rastafari.
Let them wear fluorescent colored clothing. and